Beluga Savruga, come winds of the Caspian Sea. We're going to learn about the voice behind one of the scariest, most devious, and most manipulative villains in Disney history. I mean, she really understood teenagers, am I right? So sit back and relax as we swim through the life of Pat Carroll. Now, watch. Before we start, don't forget to check out our Discord, our coffee page, and like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, all the things. It really helps us out. Pat Carroll was born in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1927 and moved to Los Angeles when she was 5 years old. As she tells it, she grew up interested in theater by reading. Really? Well, to each their own, I suppose.
I really did. I fell in love with the theater by reading in the public library, and I'd read everything else. I'd even gone through the aviation department, and I ended up in the drama section. And I didn't know about drama, so I picked up a book, and I read the title, and it was a play. And it was called The Passing of the Third Floor Back by Jerome K. Jerome. And I thought, well, I'll see what this is like. I began reading it. I slipped to the floor and continued to read it because there was a little Cockney maid in it. And I suddenly discovered I wanted to be that maid. I wanted to do that, and I fell in love with the theater. There I was, madly in love with going on the stage. And one day I was crying in my room. And my mother came in and she said, Patsy, they called me Patsy then. She said, Patsy, what's wrong? And I said, Mama, I want to go on the stage and I don't know how to get there. She said, that's simple, bring me the phone book. And I said, the phone book? And she said, yes, the phone book, please. So I brought her the phone book and she flipped through it like this, and all of a sudden she said, here it is, the Catholic Actors Guild called them and told them you want to go on the stage. And I said, Mama, I can't. She said, yes, you can. If there's anything you want to do about this desire, you have to do it. Now that was a wise mama. Yeah. So I called the phone number she gave me, and a gentleman answered. I was scared to death. I was so scared. I must have been 13. You know how scared you are when you're 13. And so this gentleman answered the phone. I said, hello, hello, and my hands were shaking. And I said, hello, my name is Patricia Carroll, and I want to act. And he said, well, you called the right number. And he told me about an apprentice program, and that you would have to spend 6 months, and you'd be in one-act plays, and then you would work backstage, and you'd earn your stripes. And I said, well, could I join? And he said, certainly, come down here. I said, well, my daddy will have to drive me because I can't drive. And God bless my dad. He drove me down there, I signed up, and the first play I did for them was a little choice bit called The Bird on Nellie's Hat. And the next thing I did within 6 months, I played the sister in our town. And from there on in, rockety-bockety-boo.
She soon began acting in local productions and attended the Catholic University of America after enlisting in the United States Army as a civilian actress technician. God bless the troops. And Ursula. Carroll made her professional stage debut in 1947 alongside Gloria Swanson in A Goose for the Gander. Afterward, she traveled east to hit the nightclub circuit, debuting in the revue at Le Ruban Bleu in 1950. Sounds a little too French for me, but I'll give it a shot.
I was working in the very chic supper clubs in New York, and Julius Monk, God bless him, who was the régisseur of Le Ruban Bleu, said to me, he hired me, and then he said, Pat, all of you young ladies in comedy all do the Jackie thing, ha ha ha! And he said, it just doesn't seem to fit. He said, what I want you to do is sing a couple of ballads after you do your comedy song, your comedy routine. And so I said, Julius, you're the boss, of course. So I sat on a stool and I sang ballads. And I had more gentlemen coming back saying, forget the comedy, just sing ballads. And it wasn't that I have a great voice, but I had long blonde hair. My mother always said I looked like a Cocker Spaniel, and she meant it in the best of ways. And all the gentlemen didn't want me to do comedy. That was part of the time. They wanted me to just sing ballads and look pretty and let my blonde hair shine. And I thought, Julius, you're right, but I'm going to change this around. And so I incorporated more material making fun of the fact that I was a woman doing comedy. And that seemed to work because the men could enjoy that. I was making fun of myself, and I think they related to that on a human level. Not on a male level, on a human level.
While performing in more than 200 roles in stock performances in the New York area, in 1953, she began appearing on television, which is like a movie, but smaller and in your house. First, as a sketch performer on The Red Buttons Show and Saturday Night Review. Carroll made her Broadway debut in 1955's musical review Catch a Star, receiving a Tony nomination for that performance. And I am not jealous that she got a nom while I've been overlooked several times. It's whatever. I mean, you can compare it side by side. I sang the whole Beluga Savruga thing. Everyone knows the American theater wing wouldn't recognize talent if it bit them in the eye. In 1956, Pat performed Carl Reiner's wife in ongoing sketches for Caesar's Hour, earning her a Supporting Actress Emmy Award. For much of the 60s, Carroll also appeared on at least 20 quiz and panel shows airing at the time, including Masquerade Party, Keep Talking, Password, The Match Game, Stump the Stars, and the $10,000 Pyramid. And for our game show nerds, our script producer, Adam. You know this is a pretty cool thing. Hitting all the big ones, that is.
Fergus?
Child.
You're talking about a rich kid? What is that? Money. What does money have to do with a child? You have to pay money. Child.
5 seconds.
Money with child. I don't know. A child. With Lord, it's an infant.
Infant. No, 8 points, Maureen.
Molly fed Jake nothing at all but chicken soup until he finally blanked.
Well, I felt that Jake had had it, so he converted.
And the best advice working game shows that I think I ever had was from a man named Bob Stewart. He was the producer of $20,000 Pyramid, or one of those game shows. And the first time I went on, I was very nervous. I'd never done a game show before, and I was frightened. I was scared, so I tried to be funny. And at the intermission, or they don't call it the intermission, at the break, Bob said, "Pat, could I talk to you, please?" He took me into a room and he said, "Pat, I'm going to give you some good advice." He said, "This is a game show." And I said, "Oh, I know, and it's a good one. It's a good one, Bob." And he said, "But at home, they're not on your side. You're a star. You're a millionaire, okay?" I said, "Well, they don't know. That's not true." He said, "They don't care. That's what they think." He said, "They are on the side of the contestant because that is who they identify with. Now, if you spend the contestant's time trying to be funny, you're taking away time from them, and the people at home will hate you." And I said, "Well, oh, you're right." And he said, "So don't try to be funny. I promise you, you are going to get laughs from the game." And I said, "What you're telling me is don't be pushing, try to be funny." He said, "Yes." And I said, "Bob, thank you very much. You have laid the truth out before me. I'll try to react." I went back. I didn't try to be funny. And by golly, we got laughs out of the game. And I worked for probably 8 years after that on game shows. And I always said to Bob Stewart, "Thank you for an 8-year career in game shows. It was all due to you. If you hadn't cared enough to want to straighten me out, I wouldn't have known what was the right thing to do. Thank you for that."
In 1966, she famously played the wicked sister in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, starring Leslie Ann Warren.
On the Squawk Box at CBS, they used to say, "Would Marie Dressler and Thelma Todd please come up?" That's what they call Barbara Ruick and me. It was shot like a film with a television camera. And my favorite story out of that whole thing was one night, very late at CBS, we were shooting the wedding scene, going up to the castle when Cinderella and the prince were getting married, and there were horses involved, of course. Now, this was a soundstage at CBS, and the horses misbehaved, and our director pushed the Squawk Box and said, "Would somebody get Joe the prop man and clean up the messages from our dear horses?" And so somebody went to get Joe, and we all sat there, and time went by, and the clock box, will somebody please get Joe in here? Thank you. And about 10 minutes later, Joe walked in with a shovel and a broom, and he stood there over these messages just looking, and the director said, Joe, will you clean it up? And he said, until it stops steaming, it belongs to special effects. Do you know, we couldn't shoot for half an hour. We were all falling down into corners. We were all tired, but that laughter, again, thank you for laughter, made all of us exhilarated. We came back and shot it, and we were all feeling great, but I shall never forget that. I shall never in my entire life forget that.
Other television roles include a motherly landlady to Bobby Sherman in the short-lived Getting Together, as well as the overprotective mother of Adam Arkin in Busting Loose, a newspaper publisher and foil for the star in the syndicated The Ted Knight Show, and Suzanne Summers' mother on the syndicated sitcom She's the Sheriff. But let's be honest, most impressively, she was a guest performer. Carroll performed on many variety shows, including The Carol Burnett Show.
Hotel. What hotel?
Well, we made some reservations for you at a very nice hotel in town.
I did not come 3,000 miles to go to a hotel. I came here to take care of my baby brother.
Honey, we'd love to have you stay with us. We don't have the room.
Roger, who needs room? I'll sleep beside your bed on the floor, so in case you need anything, I'll be right there. Me? Well, I did that when he had the mumps, the measles, and the chicken pox, and he got over them.
But he's married now.
He'll get over that, too.
I know I was called very quickly to replace Gwen Verdon on the show because Gwen had gotten some kind of vertigo, and of course she couldn't do her dance routine or anything. And I had to do a little dance with Carol. Carol was so wonderful to me because she kept checking me out to see everything. She said, okay with that? I said, oh yeah, thanks, Carol. But she checked me out and was there for me and would do it with me. That she was taking care of you. She was going to make sure that her guests were in the finest light that they could possibly be in. That's a marvelous quality.
Carroll was particularly memorable on a 1971 episode of The Mary Tyler Moore Show, playing an unpleasant woman with whom Mary Richards shares a hospital room. Hilariously, might I add. And I will, because it's my show.
Hello. Want a TV?
Oh, isn't that nice? Yes, thank you. I'd like one.
Oh, good. I got TV for nothing.
Isn't that nice? I didn't know they did that.
They don't. I mean, you didn't think you got it for free, did you?
Oh, no. No, I knew that. Well, let's see, I wonder how much it could be. Brand new TV only costs, what, $200. I they charge you, what, $1 a day?
$7.50.
$7.50. Oh, sir, I'm only going to be in here for a few days, so I won't need the TV.
Oh, that's swell. Oh, you are just beautiful. Here you got me all hyped up for TV, and then you don't want it.
On the other hand, what can it cost? I'll only be in here for a couple of days.
Good.
Okay, this is your remote control. Shows you how to work it.
Remote control.
Oh, sir, could you tilt that just a little bit this way? Yeah, move it over just a little bit. That's just perfect.
300 points. Who is the Prime Minister of Canada?
And I was playing a very mean character. It was a hospital scene where she was having her tonsils out. And I was a very crusty lady. And I took Mary on and I dished it out to her. I was horrible to her. I got hate mail from that show. I received, hey, how dare you treat our Mary in that manner? I want to say, folks, I'm paid to say those words. I think Mary is wonderful. I'm with you. But I'm paid to do that. Don't hate me because I'm doing my job. I screamed when I got the hate mail. I thought, well, they wrote that well, didn't they?
In 1979, Carroll returned to the stage to perform a one-woman show entitled Gertrude Stein, Gertrude Stein, Gertrude Stein. I'll give you 3 guesses which character she played. The show won several major theater awards, and her recorded version won a 1980 Grammy Award for Best Spoken Word Documentary or Drama.
I toured my one-woman show about Gertrude Stein, 18 months in New York and 4 years on the road. I did over 1,000 performances. I never got tired of it. I had to have had fun, or I couldn't have done that many shows. I did not have an understudy. I was never ill. I did 1,000 performances. How wonderful! Is that fabulous? Am I fortunate or what?
Coming out of the 70s, Carroll began to turn to voice acting. I think you know where this is going, but believe it or not, she acted in a number of projects before Disney was involved. She started off in 1985 voicing the evil queen in Yogi's Treasure Hunt. She also appeared in Pound Puppies, Galaxy High School, and Foofer, as well as 2 Garfield specials for which she voiced the grandma. She also voiced Granny in the English dub of My Neighbor Totoro. And that was it, and she stopped acting. Oops, sorry, we dropped a few script pages. Okay, here we are. The moment we've all been waiting for. Let me take you to a time when a struggling Disney studio is looking to cast its main villain. In his book Makin' Tunes Inside the Most Popular Animated TV Shows and Movies, author Alan Newworth documented that the filmmakers searched for just the right performer who could put across the deep-voiced, world-weary, deadpan villainess they had in mind, but never quite snaring their catch. While Howard Ashman was interested in actress Joan Collins, directors Clements and Musker favored actress Bea Arthur, for whom they had actually written the role. Arthur's agent resented the directors for insinuating that her client voiced a witch, refusing to even present the script to the actress. With Arthur eliminated, Clemens and Musker were forced to audition several other popular television actresses of the decade, including Nancy Marchand, Charlotte Rae, and Roseanne Barr, and jazz singer Nancy Wilson. Meanwhile, Ashman himself had been similarly unsuccessful in recruiting Collins because Dynasty producer Aaron Spelling feared that the actress's reputation would be jeopardized should she voice an animated character. Thus, Ashman pursued Broadway veteran Elaine Stritch, of whom he had been a long-time fan, and in our opinion, a certified queen. Ultimately, Stritch won the role over Rae with her preferred rendition of Poor Unfortunate Souls. However, Stritch and Ashman soon began to experience creative differences over Poor Unfortunate Souls because the actress refused to follow Howard's very specific directions. After her refusing to perform the song at Ashman's preferred tempo, combined with her alcoholism, Howard fired Stritch from the project, thus forcing Clements and Musker to find a replacement with yet another round of auditions. She's still a queen, though. Enter the legendary Pat Carroll.
Crazy the actor who doesn't want to play a villain. It is the greatest work in the world. You can go over the top, or you can go way under. It is exciting work to play a villain, and I know who you're going to say, Ursula. And my desire before I kicked the bucket was to do a Disney film. I'd never done one. And I got a call from my dear agent saying, would you audition? Would I? I would be thrilled to. I auditioned for Ursula probably 6 times. And a year later, I got the call to come and do it. I was so thrilled. I was so excited. And I thought of Ursula. I saw the storyboards on her, and I thought, this character is very weird. I mean, that's big. That's big villain. And that's a female character. Now, how do I make a female character big in a comedic sense? And I thought of Ursula as an ex-Shakespearean actress who sold used cars. Now, if that doesn't give it to you in a ball, I don't know what will. And I followed that thing I had in my head every time we did a session. I just thought of her in that way, and I couldn't get any bigger. And the 2 Johns who directed and produced it would just drag me along. They put the cheese in front of my rat, and away I'd go. It was glorious. I've never enjoyed anything so much in my life, and I'm still getting fan mail from children around the world. I could not be more gratified. I start working on it the minute I read it. I must say I work outward to inwards. I usually think of physical characteristics first. What led to those physical characteristics has to do then with the inner life, the psychological life, the emotional life, whatever. And then, as in the case, say, of an Ursula, I heighten and broaden it. And I think that's the most exciting, together with producers and directors, to decide how wide you go, how high you go. If the core of it is right, then what are the dimensions? And I think that's very important, but it must be done in collaboration. You can't just do it alone and say, that's it. You've got to put your wares in front of these people and say, how close is this? And I trust those people. They know what they want out of their creative product. So we are in collaboration.
And Ursula, I tell you, actresses are only as good as the characters they're given to do. And when they gave me the script for Ursula, I knew I was in theatrical heaven.
Exactly.
I think because she's a cranky character.
Okay.
And she's not adorable and sweet and wonderful. She's a cranky old poo.
Yes.
And I think kids get that immediately, and they love it, and I think adults too.
Yes.
Because we don't have many of those characters in the theatrical profession today, and they're fun.
Exactly.
And they're funny, and they exist in life.
Yes.
Is what it comes down to.
And always, it's rude. One might question your upbringing.
One day, we were waiting in a music rehearsal for something. I said, Howard, may I ask you a favor? And he said, sure. I said, could you sing Ursula's song for me? Well, he put on the cloak immediately, sang the song. He was brilliant.
Yes, I've had the odd complaint, but on the whole, I've been a saint to those poor unfortunate souls.
And I watched every body move of his. I watched everything. I watched his face. I watched his hands. I ate him up.
Have we got a deal?
I stole In It from Howard.
Life's full of tough choices. In It.
I stole 2 or 3 other ad-libs that he put in.
No more talking, singing, zip.
And I said, Howard, is it all right if I steal those? He said, I was hoping you would.
I didn't see it in an animation studio. I saw it in New York City at a screening room, all by myself, nobody, because I was supposed to do a promotional tour and I had not seen the film. So I asked the powers that be, might I see the film before I go out to talk about it? I have to have seen it somehow. So all by myself, I sat in this tiny, probably sat 14 people, screening room, and that first thing of Ursula came on, and I slid off the chair. I literally slid off the, what the hell was that? I mean, that's scary. That old girl is mighty scary, but I was overcome with the music, because that is a Broadway score. I was overcome with the overwhelming, finite work they did on the film. I mean, those sea scenes were impeccable. The palace scenes were magnificent. The detail was, but they are known for that, aren't they? They don't give up and just make a big splash. They really get in there and dig. I sat there all by myself and I thought, oh, am I lucky to be in this or what? And I was.
Starting in 1990, Carroll continued to perform on stage, notably at Washington, D.C.'s The Shakespeare Theater. After a well-received turn as the nurse in Romeo and Juliet, she made theatrical history by playing Sir John Falstaff in The Merry Wives of Windsor. Carroll tackled Brecht's Mother Courage in 1993, and then donned trousers again for a go at the title role of Ben Jonson's Volpone in 1996.
Well, that was kind of my vision of mine. Number one, I never thought I would do any Shakespeare. And in my heart, I wanted so badly to do it. And the first Shakespearean role I wanted to do was the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. Because I'll tell you, if we all get up into heaven, I want to talk to that actor who did that role. Because I had a lot of questions to ask. But the second thing, I wanted to play Sir John Falstaff. But I knew in all of the Henrys, I couldn't do that because that's totally a male role. Here's a man who is mentoring a young man, little prince of the realm. But I knew in The Merry Wives of Windsor, I could do it and I could get away with it. I adored it. When I told Michael Kahn, who was the founder and the director, he said, what else do you want to do in Shakespeare? And I said, well, Sir John Falstaff. He said, Pat, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. In Merry Wives of Windsor, I could get away with it. And he thought a minute and he said, I think you could. So he said, we'll do it. Now, I had worked with the company, so I knew all the fellas, I knew all the ladies. But in rehearsal, all the fellas were patting me on the hand or chucking me on the cheek or and Michael finally said, ladies and gentlemen, we have a problem here. our wonderful Pat is now playing a male character. I don't think you want to do that. And they all said, oh no, we won't do it. We won't do it. Of course they kept doing it. And so finally, it wasn't until I put on male garb and facial hair, I had a mustache and sideburns, you know, and floppy hair here, that the guys stopped doing that to me. They didn't do it anymore to me. Except now they would go, POM on my father. You see baseball players doing that all the time.
She also performed in a few other Broadway shows, namely The Show-Off in 1992 and Elektra in 1998. Not to be confused with this Elektra. She continued to perform Ursula like many Disney voice artists. She made every appearance, including video games, television shows, and park appearances. She also performed Morgana, Ursula's sister, in The Little Mermaid 2.
Ursula would have simply loved to have come, but something came up. Now, what was it? Oh, yes. You all shish kebabbed her. 1 minute you're on top, the next you're sushi.
Now, is that fair, Gramps, I ask you?
Her most recent non-Ursula performance was Tangled the Series, where she performed Old Lady Crowley, keeping it in the Disney family, as it were. Living a long and fulfilling life, Carroll passed away in Cape Cod, Massachusetts on July 30th, 2022, at the age of 95.
And I've told my children, I said, listen, when the time comes for me to go to the great green room in the sky, shed no sad tears. I've had the most wonderful life. I've done everything I wanted to do. I've had a ball doing it. I am very fortunate. Thank you. Amen.
What an amazing woman. I'm telling you, watching her interviews made our writer fall in love with her almost immediately. She's humble, she's energetic, and she's incredibly talented. This can be seen in full effect through her stellar performance as Ursula. Even to us, poor, unfortunate souls. Thank you to these people for supporting us on Patreon and Ko-fi. And if you want to make sure this channel sticks around, you can check out our Ko-fi link in the description. Every bit helps. Thank you for watching this episode of Dizographies. Click the thumbs up button below if you liked it. And if you want to be notified when the next episode comes out, consider subscribing and hitting the bell. Comment below with characters you would like to see us cover. Further reading and references are linked below. We hope to see you in another Dizography.